So this is episode 2 in my Book of Shadows series. Welcome if you are new, welcome back if you're not, and this is The Gilded Raven. And as I mentioned before, today's video is going to be all about like really beginner friendly things that you can put in your Book of Shadows as you start to create it. So I'm going to give you a really quick overview of some things that are pretty foundational, some sections that are pretty foundational that almost every witch includes or winds up including at some point in their Book of Shadows. Now, you don't have to include everything. You don't have to include anything. Take what resonates with you and leave what doesn't. Okay, so some basic sections would be like your correspondences. Correspondences for herbs, crystals, colors, moon phases, and days of the week. Another section that you could add is the Wheel of the Year, and this would cover like your sabbats, esbats, maybe include some rituals or some information about all of these I was going to call them holidays, and because I can't think of a better word, I'm going to call them holidays that are in the Wheel of the Year. I personally don't include that because I don't really follow that per se, okay? But if that's what you're called to do, that's a section that you can include. You can include a section on protection magic, and this section would cover things like wards, sigils, cleansing, banishing, all those kinds of rituals and spells. Another section could be deities, spirits, ancestors, if you work with any. One more section you could add would be tools and altar setup, if that's a thing that you want to do and you're called to do. In that section, you could put things like what tools you're using, what they are, what they mean to you, what they are used for. You could also put in like how you're setting up your altar, like the things that you're including on your altar and why. Okay, so this is just like really high level ideas for sections that you can put in your Book of Shadows. So I want you guys to keep watching, because at the end I'm going to walk you through my personal Book of Shadows, and I'm going to show you some things that I have included in mine. Now, in my intro to this series, I kind of talked about like your personal magic. Okay, so this is like the spells and rituals that you have come up with. You write those down in your Book of Shadows, and you keep notes also as to did it hit, did it not hit, what worked, what didn't. This is also the place where if things did not work, you can update, you can change things around. Like if you used an herb and you don't feel like it did anything, then you'd cross it out and you'd try something else. This is where you would document that kind of work, right? You can also use your Book of Shadows to write down your dreams, any signs or synchronicities that you are experiencing. Now, these could be related into spell work that you've done, or it could just be maybe you have just been wondering and kind of like put out in the universe, give me a sign to let me know that I'm on the right track. You could document like that question and any signs or synchronicities that you witnessed that confirm that you are on the right path. Right? So you can use your Book of Shadows to document that kind of stuff. I personally keep my journal separate from my Book of Shadows, but I know some people, quite a few, they're kind of intertwined. So they will journal daily, just a few lines to show like any growth that you feel that you have accomplished. You can write down your milestones in your Book of Shadows. Like I said, I personally keep that journal separate from my Book of Shadows. Okay. But again, all of this is do what works for you, and you're not going to know what works for you unless you try. So, it's all about trial and error and experimentation, and there is no hard and fast rules on how to do a lot of stuff. Okay. So the Book of Shadows, this is your personal book. So you set it up and include the things in it that resonate with you. I'm going to keep reiterating that. And I'm just giving you guys my experience, what I include, just to give you like an idea. Okay. This isn't set in stone. It's not hard and fast rules. Again, do what works for you. And you're not doing it wrong if you don't do it like I do, right? Okay, I just want to put that out there. It's okay. And I just spoke about journal entries. And not, like I said, I keep mine separate from my Book of Shadows. But you can also use your Book of Shadows as a journal if you would like to. Sometimes we may forget that our Book of Shadows is also a study tool. So I just spoke about journaling and how you can like journal inside your Book of Shadows. You can also use your Book of Shadows to take notes on maybe YouTube videos that you watched, or a book that you're reading. If something really stuck out and hits you in that book that you are reading, make a note of it. Write down that quote. Write down that section that really like hit you hard and or maybe caused a light bulb moment, right? This kind of goes along with deity, spirit, and ancestral work. If you're interested in different pantheons, like the Greek pantheon, Roman pantheon, Norse pantheon, you can put your notes and your thoughts and your feelings about different pantheons in your Book of Shadows, if that's something that you're exploring. You can include things like definition of terms, like BOS or grimoire. What is a Book of Shadows? What is a grimoire? Is there a difference? Yes, but also no. So these are the kind of notes that you can put into. If you are going to use a witch's alphabet, you could put that in there. If you are going to use runes, you can make notes on the runes and what they mean. And you can do the same with tarot too, if you want to go into tarot or pendulums. These are the kinds of things that you can document in your Book of Shadows. You can create your own how-to pages, like how to cast a circle, how to call the quarters, if that's something that you do, how to call down the moon, if again that is something that you do in your practice. If you are going to make your own spiritual oils, those are another thing that you can put in your Book of Shadows. How to do that, how you do that, right? Again, your Book of Shadows, it's your Book of Shadows, so build it how you want to. I'm just here to try to give you some ideas if you're stuck or overwhelmed. I hope I'm helping alleviate some of the overwhelmed, and just give you confidence that it's yours. Set it up however feels right to you. And your Book of Shadows can be as scholarly and as sacred as you want it to be. So there is zero shame in being a magical nerd. And I think we're all kind of a little bit nerdy. We all have our little areas that we are really super passionate about. And your Book of Shadows is where you document that. And just remember, again, your Book of Shadows, your rules. You don't have to include everything. Like I had mentioned before, I don't follow the Wheel of the Year, so that's not included in my Book of Shadows. When I first started, did I put it in there? Yes, I did, because I didn't know if it was going to work for me or not. And so this is kind of segueing into, let me show you my Book of Shadows, and we'll talk about, like, if you include something but then later find that it doesn't work for you. One second, let me show you what I'm working with. Now, I mentioned this before, like in my introduction to this series, is like I've got two things that I use. So I've got like a spiral notebook that I keep things in, some notes, and so this is one of my oils, and you can see it's like it's a mess, and there's things that are crossed out on other pages. I've added some notes up here, like it's a mess. It's a mess. So I use that as like my Book of Shadows journal. Let's just call it that, because that's where I keep all my notes. But because I'm extra, I wanted to see if I could make like a book. Like I wanted to make a book. So that's what I did with this. I did the binding, sorry. So I'm going to take this apart for you, and I'm going to show you what I did, because again, I need to be able to easily move things around. And in something like a spiral notebook, I don't want to have to be ripping pages out. I'm also a Libra, so I like things to be beautiful to my mind. So that's how I like. I print out things and I cut out things, and it's kind of like a scrapbook. Basically is what I'm doing. Scrapbooking my Book of Shadows or grimoire. So let me show you how this is. Well, not gonna take it apart, I decided, because that's gonna be a lot of work. But I want to show you here. Trying to show you, but not keep bumping my microphone. So these unscrew. Okay, so I've got 3 of them here. So these unscrew, so I can take this apart. Okay, so I can move my pages around easily. And I'm thinking here, because maybe this isn't the right video to like go into all of this, but I want to just like, here's one section that I have. So this is where I would keep my finished spells, and then I do have some spells in here already. Let me see what else I've got. The lunar phases, the moon phases. I'm going to be redoing this a little. I've got a section for puppets. Just to give you guys an idea, a section on herbs, crystals, healing properties, meanings. So these are all the sections that I have. Now I've got, and I've got something here on the days of the week. I have created like specific dividers for my Book of Shadows that I'm going to start implementing. They are on my website. I'll include the link below if you guys are interested in grabbing some printable Book of Shadows pages. I do want to show you one, so one second. So here's just a couple. Here's like the circle casting, and I do have printable pages on how to cast a circle if you want to check those out. Again, I'll put the links to all those things down below. And phases of the moon. Now this is one of my actual printable Book of Shadow pages, and I did this, and this is what I'm going to use. So to show folks how you can use them. You don't have to print them out and just paste the whole thing like this in your Book of Shadows if you don't want to. Here, I cut out each of these sections and I Mod Podged it. And this paper I made myself. So if you guys are interested in learning how to like antique your pages, and here's another one that I did. I just cut them out, pasted them. I think these are, or taped. I've got all the scrapbooking stuff. So that's how you can use those Book of Shadow pages. If you guys are interested in like I just said, how to antique your own pages, this is basically printer paper that I used. And I went and I got, this is something, it's like a sticker. And I just put it on the page. And this is how I can get it in my Book of Shadows. If you guys are interested in a more in-depth video on that kind of thing, like how to crafting, if you want to do like a scrapbook style grimoire / Book of Shadows, let me know in the comments below, and I'll work on that. And I also wanted to let you guys know, if you stayed this far, thank you so much. I do have a free like quick start Book Shadows guide. I'm gonna put that link down below, and you can get that for free. It'll actually be at the very top. My other links I'll put down at the bottom, but for the freebie, I'm going to put that right at the top of the description so you guys can go and grab that. And again, if you want to know how I made my pages and the items and stuff that I use to create my hardcover Book of Shadows, let me know in the comments below and I will work on that video. And until next time, see you guys later. I'm doing a PS. If you found this video helpful at all, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Stay blessed, y'all.